So you have all those guys get drafted. So it's 4 guys that got drafted this year, which is a nice number for Tennessee. Again, like we said earlier in the show, uh, Tennessee not been a place where guys have been drafted much, at least in the last 15 years. Used to not be the case, but we have a parade of bad head coaches to thank for that. And you had a trio of guys get picked up as undrafted free agents after the draft ended, all trickling out very slowly on Saturday night. First guy I saw sign anywhere was Omari Thomas going to the New Orleans Saints. And of course, that's been a Tennessee hotbed for a little while now, just in terms of guys winding up there for whatever reason. Shai Tuttle is no longer there, but Alvin Kamara is a Butch Jones era player that is still there and still the starting running back down there as well. He's held up pretty nicely for the Saints. One of the few real constants they've had down there over the last decade or so. And then you got a couple other guys too. Velus Jones just signed there in the offseason. He's been floating around a little bit now. Unfortunately, I feel like every time I turn on a game where he's playing in it, he's muffing a kick. I hope that's no longer the case, but he couldn't make it on the Bears because he was just too much of a liability for them after a while. And then, of course, the other one is Alontae Taylor playing defensive back. So as of right now, 4 guys, if you include Omari Thomas in New Orleans, that is obviously pending, and whether or not Omari makes the active roster this year, the 53-man roster this fall. But good to see a guy like that get signed. Omari was one of the few athletes that I had the privilege of interacting with outside of a media setting at Tennessee. Had, I think, 3 classes with him while I was in college. Really, really good dude. Very happy to see him wind up on an NFL roster, even if it is just as an undrafted free agent. And one of the better constants, I feel like, on this team, just as it's turned over from Jeremy Pruitt to Josh Heupel here in the last however many seasons.
Yeah, and I mean, he was at Tennessee for seemingly a while, and then he's one of those guys that you didn't really think much of during the games, but he was always a guy that you wanted to have on your team, like a guy that isn't going to register a whole bunch of sacks or anything like that, but he's a nice guy that you could plug in and to just play. I honestly forgot about Omari Thomas going into this draft and that being a possibility with him. So I'm really happy that he was able to find an NFL team, and hopefully he can get signed and everything and then, play in the NFL. But congratulations to him and all the other players that got picked up too. Hopefully they end up getting signed as well. Like we talked about Elijah Simmons last week, and then he's going to the Cardinals now, or hopefully. I mean, yeah, we'll see if he gets signed, but Elijah Simmons, I mean, there you go. Wait, I'm just now thinking about it right now. So Tennessee had 4 defensive linemen picked up in one shape or another.
Yeah.
Right? Amari Thomas, James Pierce, Norman Lott.
2 drafted and then 2 UDFAs.
Well, there we go again. Here comes our weekly Rodney Gardner praise right here. 4 defensive linemen in the NFL. Hopefully all of them.
Yeah, if there is a position coach you can trust on the roster, or on the coaching staff, excuse me, it is Rodney Gardner. The guy has a knack for finding talent, and it is actually very surprising to me to see Elijah Simmons end up even considered in draft conversations, because he was last week just as Mr. Irrelevant, which obviously that wasn't the case. But we knew the talent was there. We just didn't always see it. In fact, we rarely ever saw it for the most part. Hopefully he can show the Cardinals that he does have that talent somewhere in there. And even though he wasn't drafted, the good news for him and J.J. Watt is that he is on one of J.J. Watt's old teams. And J.J. Watt was the first guy to really hype up Elijah Simmons.
Hey, who knows? Maybe that's the reason why he's there right now.
Possibly. Yeah. That could very well be the case. So you mentioned the defensive side of the ball, and there was one more undrafted free agent signing that we got to get to. And this is a guy that has constantly proven everybody wrong over the last 2 seasons, probably his entire career at Tennessee, just because he started off as a walk-on. And that is none other than Will White Lightning Brooks signing with the Kansas City Chiefs as a free agent. The pride of Mountain Brook, Alabama himself. He joins Omar Norman Lott and Trey Smith, at least on the roster for now. He will have to compete to try and get a roster spot this year with Kansas City, but good to see him given a chance with an NFL organization, because that's a guy that we just didn't know what we were doing with him before the season started last year. That's kind of where we were with Will Brooks. Then he gets the pick six against NC State, and we're like, okay, this guy's kind of nice. That's a nice start to the season for him. And then you had the Alabama game, multiple big plays in that Alabama game. He made a big play to start that game, had the shoestring tackle on Jalen Milroe that probably stopped a long touchdown run that could have completely shifted the momentum of that game in Alabama's favor. And he had the pick to seal the win against Alabama. So lots of really nice plays for him in that game. Later games, you had a pick against Ohio State, I believe, up there, one of the few good moments from that night. And then, of course, in the Kentucky game, a big pick in the second half. So a guy that has proven his worth in the Tennessee football program. Hopefully he can do the same for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I honestly absolutely love this pickup. Because I feel like walk-ons, a lot of times they have a chip on their shoulder, and they're willing to outwork anyone in the room. And that's how they got to the position that they got to make the team and everything. And I went to MTSU, Middle Tennessee State University, if anyone's unaware. There was a guy that went there named Reed Blankenship. You might know him now for the Eagles. Yep. I remember watching him play at MTSU, and you could just tell that he played with a chip on his shoulder. And I remember telling my brother, I was like, I don't know if he's going to get drafted, but I guarantee you this guy's going to be good. I feel a little bit of the same way with Will Brooks. I don't think he's as athletic as Reed Blankenship or anything like that, but I do like the position he's in, especially with the Chiefs too. Like, I think it could really work out well for him. And I just think that he could have that dog mentality where he could find his way on the field and possibly get signed in the offseason.
Yeah, I like the comparison. Two guys that are obviously a part of winning organizations now, and obviously Blankenship a big part of the Eagles' success, along with another fellow white corner in Cooper DeJean, who had some big plays for them last season. He's good at Iowa too. Terrific punt returner when he was there at Iowa. Nice corner as well. Hopefully Will Brooks can go out and prove the Chiefs wrong. I know that's something that a lot of those guys seek to do, both as walk-ons and then undrafted free agents too, because it's a similar situation, at least to walk-ons. I did see somebody earlier today. It's escaping me who it was. Somebody was invited to a rookie mini camp. I don't know who exactly.
A Tennessee player?
From Tennessee, yes. Let me try and find it.
I'm really curious to find out who this is, because I've not heard any news about Brew McCoy or Cooper Mays, so I'm assuming it's not them.
No, it is not either one of them. And scouring the internet now to find out. Oh, Waffle House, John Campbell Jr.
Oh, okay.
Got invited to the 49ers rookie minicamp.
Well, good for him. I didn't even think of anything with the NFL with him, but good for him.
Yeah. Guy that had been in college for 7 years. And I thought he was fine here. Never a guy that just really stood out to me. He had that one block against, NC State. He and Lance Hurd both were pretty terrific in that game. Of course, the tackle spot struggled a little bit throughout the year, and then injuries were obviously a bit of a problem for Campbell. You're not staying in college 7 years if you haven't been hurt at least at some point in your career and are getting that red shirt. And then here at Tennessee too, he missed a game or two this past season with an injury as well. So, but good to see him get invited to the rookie minicamp for the 49ers. So that's all we have on guys that wound up in NFL organizations. Now, there are two names of guys that did not end up drafted or even signed as undrafted free agents. And those two are Brew McCoy and Cooper Mays. And Brew, I'm a little surprised because I figured at the earliest he might go in the 7th round and would more than likely sign as an undrafted free agent. He did not. Cooper Mays, he was not on any draft boards, not even on ESPN's best available. And I'm not surprised to see him not get drafted, but at the same time, not being signed anywhere as an undrafted free agent is a pretty big surprise to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, I think it's surprising across the board. I mean, I feel like a lot of times when the NFL draft goes on, or the draft process is going on, and there's a former 5-star player that may not have lived up to the potential in college. It seems like a lot of times these NFL teams will take a risk towards the end of the
you
draft.
got signed by the Chargers, I believe, right?
Exactly.
That's bizarre. Like, how does he wind up on an NFL roster in any capacity?
Yeah, and I feel like most of these NFL teams are like, okay, well, they didn't fit in their college program. Maybe it was the scheme. Maybe it was something or another. Maybe we can correct these things and get all that talent out of him. It's just shocking to not want to take a chance on a player like that, especially because he's not a small receiver either. And I mean, he was a dog his whole entire time at Tennessee too. Like he's a guy that you know would want to fight for extra yards and whatnot, like a real scrappy player. I don't know. It's disappointing to see that he's not getting any attention. Do you know when like the deadline for all of this could be for him to get?
I have no idea, to be completely honest with you, Jordan. And it with Brew, and I get it, injuries are definitely a part of the problem. This year he missed a game or two with some injuries, and then last season, of course, they had that devastating injury against South Carolina. But he's a guy that has a quality that is often overlooked in receivers, but is very useful, and that is his blocking. Tennessee's blocking from its wide receivers dipped considerably in 2023 once he was injured and done for the year. And, it reminds me of another, and he's been compared to this guy a little bit, but he does remind me of another receiver that played here at Tennessee, obviously because they wore the same number, but also they're similar in stature, and that's Juwan Jennings. And a big reason why the 49ers drafted him and a big reason why he has stayed there past his rookie deal is because he is a terrific blocker in addition to his explosive capabilities as a wide receiver. So I feel like that's a quality that, if an NFL organization desires it, he's out there and you can go and grab him for it. I think that would be terrific for him. Obviously, not quite the same versatility as Juwan, but I think if you want to, I guess, upgrade in the toughness department, you can absolutely do that with Brew.
And even at the very least, he could be a really good practice squad guy that could challenge some of these corners, especially like, he's got the size, he's got a lot of skills, the blocking and everything, teaching the corners to be able to get off of that, because with how good of a blocker he is, I think he'd be a perfect practice guy to get some of these people ready and everything. I'm just so shocked that no team took a chance on him. I'm not as surprised with Cooper Mays, to be honest, because I've heard so many things, like so many articles of him being overlooked and everything, and people questioning his size and whatnot. I'm still trying to understand all of that. I guess I haven't watched enough Cooper Mays film or anything, but I feel like you got to take a chance, at least pick up on a practice squad, like any player that's coming in the draft that was like a semifinalist for a award. Like, what is there to lose? by taking a player like that.
Yeah, and there were only like 8 or 9 centers on the board. This was in a lot of ways a very strange NFL draft too, because I believe you had 4 specialists selected. A long snapper from
Yes.
Vanderbilt went in the 7th round. I don't know if I've ever seen that. I know that broke some kind of draftless streak for them at Vanderbilt. Like they hadn't had a player drafted in however long, and it got broken because the Patriots decided, you know what, I'm going to take a long snapper this year out of Vanderbilt. That's just such an odd decision. Like those guys usually get signed as free agents, undrafted free agents, I would imagine, but not this year. Bit of a difference this year. But yeah, Brew McCoy and Cooper Mays not being signed, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, honestly. And I hope they do have a career in football past their career here at Tennessee, because I think it would just be a real shame if no team was to look at either of those guys and say, I love what this guy is about. I think he would be terrific in our organization, because I really think both of them provided a lot of value while they were here at Tennessee.
Yeah, I agree too. And I think they were 2 of the leaders on Tennessee's offense this season too. So, I mean, there's just a lot to like from these players, especially coming from like free agents and stuff. I feel like teams got to take a chance on them eventually.